We're live.
Hello. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us from Northeast Minneapolis, I believe, Natalie Nowytski.
Hi.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you here. And today's broadcast is all kinds of excitement today because Tony, you are joining us from the Crown Plaza, Minneapolis West in Plymouth, Minnesota, where
That's
the
right.
Minnesota Winter Bluegrass Weekend is kicking off tonight. So you
Yep,
are already
I got my wristband.
Nice.
you are already ready to go. So you're in some kind of conference room or something happening over
I
there.
am. So it may be interesting. Banjos and fiddles and stuff may come barging in. And if you notice, the theme music was a little on the tinnier side this morning. Ellen was just holding her phone up to so that for those of you who are new to the show, that's not indicative of the audio quality here.
Yeah. So Tony normally is broadcasting from his studio at his house, so he has all the big fancy setup. So today he is a little more DIY. So, but we are so excited to be here and so excited to have Natalie with us and all of you. And folks are ready for the show. I think it's been a week, so I think folks that really want music. And Alan joining us. I don't know, Alan, if you're back from Salt Lake or if you're back in Texas. Scott, hi Scott. We have Alan, another Alan, and Alinda, and let's see, Matt from Urbana, and Connie from Richfield, and
Hey, Connie.
oh, this is special, Anna Ostrushko joining us today. And we're so excited because her father Peter might be making an appearance in today's recording, so we're really excited.
My friend Elaine is with us. Hi, Elena.
Uh,
That's lovely.
And this is what we love about this show is it's a chance for us to get to see each other, at least online, and connect with each other. And if you're new to this show, what we do is we invite different guest artists on to revisit one of their older records, dig something out of their back catalog, and we listen to tracks from the album. We talk about the recording and answer your questions. So if you have comments or questions during the show, throw them in at any time, and we'll try and get to as many of them as we can. And for us, this is our weekly musical happy hour. So let us know, again, where you're tuned in from, and if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack, let us know what you're up to. And Chris has his German pills from Uda Pills, and great local brewery here in the Twin Cities. And Tony, what are you drinking anything today?
I'm drinking a triple latte here.
Gotta stay awake for the
Hardcore.
Bluegrass Fest. You know?
I am teaching children bluegrass. We do a children's bluegrass camp here through the Minnesota Bluegrass and Old Time Music Association called the Grass Seeds Academy. We've been doing it. This is the 16th year, and it's super fun, but it's also a lot of work. So I'm just fueling up best I can.
That sounds good.
Nice.
And Natalie, are you drinking anything?
I am. I'm sick right now, so I'm drinking my Egyptian licorice tea out of a Library of Congress cup, which interestingly enough is blue and yellow, Ukrainian-American.
nice.
Nice. And I am drinking a vodka tonic. Because
Nice.
it's been a week, and this I do want to point out it's not a Russian vodka, it's a Polish vodka. So I didn't have any Ukrainian, so
That's all right.
but
Excellent.
The
I don't know
Poles are
what
great
what would the cheers be, Natalie, in Ukrainian like?
So I would say budьмо. You would say hey, budьмо, hey, budьмо, hey.
Oh, I
Can you
can do
Let's
that.
try it.
Oh
Can we try
Yeah,
it?
do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Ready?
And you all
Yeah.
out there should do it with us.
Grab your drink, everybody.
Ready?
Okay.
Yeah.
Budьмо,
Hey.
Hey,
budьмо,
hey,
budьмо.
hey.
There you go. That's what
How'd we do?
With the latency, good.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, hey. It's just like double the haze is pretty much what it is. Well, we are so excited to have you here, Natalie, and to revisit your 2013 album, Amerikana, with a K, and we're going to talk more about that coming up. But for you have been involved in so many different musical projects over the years here in the Twin Cities and beyond. delving into all different kinds of different folk music traditions. But I would love for you, maybe for folks who maybe aren't as familiar with your music or with you, to maybe give the little like 2-minute bio of, you know, where you grew up, how you came to make the music you make, and maybe where this record fits in with that.
Okay, I'll do my best to keep that in 2 minutes.
Well, whatever.
It's all good. So I'm a first-generation Ukrainian-American. My parents immigrated here, and I grew up in the Ukrainian community in the Twin Cities. So I was surrounded by the music always. I have a very musical family, artistic family. So it was just sort of like, it's just a part of what you do as a Ukrainian. Like you're always involved in the arts in some way. So music, dance, visual arts, poetry, you name it. So that's always been kind of normal for me. And, interestingly, I wasn't really involved as much with folk music early on as a kid, outside of, Ukrainian school or other cultural sort of events. Most of the Ukrainian music that I participated in as a younger person was like sacred music. My parish that I was raised in is Orthodox Christian, and so it was a lot of Orthodox music. And then like classical music. My grandmother, Oksana Bryn, was a teacher for 40 some years at McPhail Center for Music, and her background was in opera back when she was in Ukraine, and also when she immigrated here. So I kind of have a lot of like, just a wide range just within my own culture of the kinds of music that I was exposed to. And that's not even talking about the Brazilian music and the swing music that my dad always listened to when I was a kid, or, like the random weird, like fusion jazz that my uncle was always into, and, all sorts of other things. So yeah, there's just, there's a wide range of experiences that I've had. And then of course, like for me growing up, like my thing was modern rock, which no one really thinks about, when they look at me and say, oh, you're the Eastern European village singer, but you're like really into Shakespeare. That's interesting.
Great band, by the way.
Right? Thank you.
They were my favorite in high school.
Mine too. They are the best. So, so really like folk music has always just sort of been a part of my life, just a segment of it. I started getting into other Eastern European cultures when I was, I want to say like maybe 11 or 12. When the Bulgarian Women's Choir came through, they did a whole tour of the world. And two of my mom's siblings just glommed onto it, and they said, hey, you need to listen to this. And I just wound up listening to it all the time. And so like I got really into Bulgarian folk music. And then I found out about this ensemble in town called Ethnic Dance Theater, and started listening to their choir and going to their shows and just being totally enthralled with that. And I eventually wound up singing with them, and later with the vocal ensemble that broke off from Ethnic Dance Theater, now called Mila Vocal Ensemble. And throughout all of that time, I got exposed to so much folk music from around the world, primarily Eastern European music, and studied with teachers both here and abroad, various different styles, various different languages, and I've just kind of added to my experience since then, just participating within different cultural communities here in the Twin Cities, studying in other countries with my band Orchestra Bez Ime, which my husband Scott is in, and he's also on this album that we're going to talk about. So really, I've just sort of been all over the place. The influences have been all over the place. And all throughout this time, even though I've become known for my expertise in Eastern European traditional music, I also have this whole other aspect of my musical life that is interested in such a wide range of styles, of genres, music genres. And even as a composer, a lot of my compositions are informed sometimes by these traditional styles that I've learned, but there's always, another take on them. And so when I came up with the concept for Amerikana, it was a little bit roundabout. So I was singing with Mila Vocal Ensemble at the time, and one of the members who was singing with us was Gabriella Sweet, who's
great
like,
guitarist too.
Right? Yeah, incredible musician, lovely human being, just wonderful. So she and Steve Call from the Brass Kings, were pals, and there was a Resophonic guitar festival that was happening at the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis that year. It was happening every year. I don't remember what year it stopped. And Steve was actually he was a distributor of the Amistar Resophonic guitars. Amistar is made in Prague, or was made in Prague. And so, he and Gabriella were like, hey, what if we got the choir together and did some Czech tunes with this guitar? And so we tried it. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of Czech material in the choir at the time, but we had, I think we had 3 songs. And we tried those out. Leo Whitebird was also part of this whole thing. He played bass on that. So we did 3 songs for this festival, and it was like a cool combination of styles and traditions. And we're like, okay, cool. Well, that was fun. Let's move on. And a couple of years later, I was like, God, that was such a cool idea. I wonder what would happen if you expanded it. So I started learning a little bit more about the Resophonic guitar and about. And then I, also was starting to learn additional songs from Czech Republic and from neighboring Slovakia. And in my research, and I don't really want to call it research because it was me dinking around, just just geeking out on
going
things.
down rabbit holes. Yeah.
Going down rabbit holes. That's a better way to put it.
That's how we all learn, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
dinking around in rabbit holes.
I found out that that actually there's a huge bluegrass revival in that region, in Czech Republic and in Slovakia, and that got me really excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, so this is actually a thing. And the more I started researching, what the bluegrass scene was in Czech Republic and Slovakia, the more I understood and started seeing that, at least at the time, there wasn't a huge tradition of taking their traditional songs and applying sort of a bluegrass flavor to them or an Amerikana flavor to them. But most of the stuff at the time was original, and I'm sure that's changed since then. So I just got really interested about what would happen if I grabbed these traditional folk songs and then threw some more Resophonic guitars at them. And while I'm at it, why not some mandolin? Why not some banjo? How about making the fiddle less Slavic and more American? So I wound up recording a demo with Steve, with Gabriella, and with one of the women that I was singing with in Mila, Jana Vello, and I just sort of let it sit for many years because I just wanted to get it down. I wanted to get it recorded, and then at some point I got really excited with the prospect of turning this into an album. So I wound up getting a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board to do this project, and then it just kind of exploded. The beginning of it, all this stuff that I've been telling you about up to this point was it's just little teeny tiny granule, and then it just went.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, this is so great. So if you just joined us, I know a lot of folks are tuning in from all over the world, really. We got another Winnipegger joining us, and someone we're going to talk about a little bit later, Lisa, and maybe Steve from Connecticut, and one of the musicians that plays on this record, Adam Kieslin's here.
Hey, Adam.
So Adam, you can correct us at any point if there's things you want to set the record straight at any point. Adam's been a past guest here on Back Catalog as well, so he knows the deal. But again, Natalie's joining us to talk about this record that she was just talking about how it started, Amerikana. It came out in 2013, and we're going to be diving into the tracks today. And I want to give folks a taste of what this record sounds like, because I think people are going to be pretty curious to hear what some of this traditional Eastern European music sounds like when set to this kind of American roots backdrop. So let's dig into this first track you selected for us, and we're going to let you pronounce all of the names of these and tell us about the origins of the song. So tell us about this first one.
Yeah, so the first one is called Poljana, which is it means field girl. And this is actually this is a Rusin song. So there's a pocket of people in the Carpathian Mountains between Slovakia, Poland, Ukraine that call themselves by various names. So Carpatho Rusin, Lemko, Rusnyak, all sorts of other names. And so that's where this tradition, the tradition of this song, comes from. And I actually first heard it sung by a famous Rusin singer named Maria Matroshkova. And she's still living. I got to meet her a few years ago, just about freaked out. I fangirled all over her. She's really cool. I love it. I love the energy of this song. It's kind of silly. It's playful. It's this girl that's being teased by a bunch of boys, basically for being beautiful. They keep on saying, "Oh, you're just like, wearing makeup for us," and blah blah blah. And she said, "No, this is, I'm naturally beautiful. I don't wear makeup, and I wouldn't do it for you anyway." It's just kind of sassy and silly.
Nice.
But I love the energy of the song. And when we when we started applying sort of this idea of an American flavor to the song, it just became more fun. And what I want to say about everything that's on this album, the vocal styles I specifically decided to keep in their Eastern European traditional styles, but the instrumentation and the arrangements are really what changed them. So this is Poljana, Poljana.
All right, let's give it a listen. Natalie Nowytski here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Поляна, поляна, на поляні яма, хлопці бесідують, вже мальована. Чулісте таку новину, хлопці бесідують, вже мальована. Бо я не малюю, а ніща за тебе легінь не готую. Лелія, лелія трава, а ніща за тебе легінь не готую. Землі спала, кепія задня, легінь ростовала, давно би я давно в чорній землі спала. Лелія, лелія трава, і ще я молода, дум ще видавала. Лелія, лелія трава, і ще я молода, дум ще видавала.
All right, Natalie Nowytski here on the Back Catalog Listening Party with Field Girl and let's see, Poljana. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey,
All
nice
right.
job.
Well
Well,
done.
that it's easier because it's really just one word repeated. So
Yeah, right.
if you can get the one word, and that one's a little easier to understand the pronunciation. So Natalie Nowytski joining us live here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Again, that's from her 2013 release, Amerikana with a K. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the name for this record.
I was trying to figure out how to synthesize all of the ideas into a short name. The projects that I've been involved in, most of them have like hard to pronounce and hard to spell Eastern European names, and I just didn't want to do that to people for once, So I thought about maybe there's just a way that I can play with the spelling, but still make it, pronounceable and easy to understand. And so, yeah, it just kind of made sense since the arrangements that Steve and I, and actually everyone who played on the album was involved in arranging. As the arrangements kind of came to life, it wasn't just one style. It wasn't just bluegrass. It wasn't just country. It wasn't just, I don't want to say we did anything old time. I intended to, but I don't think we quite hit that. But so it just made sense to call it Amerikana. But why would you spell it with a C if you're coming from an Eastern European country, the K sound would be made with a K. So that's how I thought that through.
I
Nice.
love that.
Well, and you kind of have a who's who of kind of Twin Cities bluegrass Americana roots artists on this. We saw Adam Kiesling was in the comments here, and I think everybody would love to know the personnel on this album. Would you mind kind of running down who was playing on this?
Absolutely. Well, first, let me just give Adam some credit on this last one that we heard. He during the sessions kept hearing Golden Slippers during this song. So it was actually his idea and Jim Parker's idea to throw that in. So that was a great call. That was super cool. Way to combine the styles.
Yeah.
Steve Call, he played a couple different Amistar guitars, played a 12-string and a 6-string. He also played a Martin acoustic, and then he was my co-producer as well. And he did a tremendous amount with helping with arrangements. Scott Keever, who's my husband, he's tuning in here too. He also did some double duty on the Amistar. He mostly played slide. And then Adam also did double duty. He played banjo and bass on the album.
Hey, there he is.
There he is. Peter Ostrushko, who we sadly lost a year ago, almost exactly to the day. He played fiddle on the album, and then Jim Parker played mandolin. And on one song, he played contra, which is a 3-stringed chordal viola that's used in a lot of Carpathian music. We're not hitting that song today, but he did pull it out for one tune.
There's
Awesome.
Scott.
What a talented crew.
Yeah, Reed Kruger, our engineer.
And I do believe, I don't know where you recorded, if you recorded some of this at Wild Sound. I know you said Steve Call was involved in it, but this looks like a basement situation.
Yeah, this was actually recorded at Waterbury Music and Sound, which is Reed Kruger's space. And he has 2 levels now. At that time, he had 1 level of a studio. Now he's got 2. And he and I have done a ton of projects together, both as composer, musicians, and also recording projects. So he's a great partner.
And I love, by the way, that last photo we saw of Steve Call was you were saying before he came on mic, because you had just gotten us all these great photos that we were looking through before he came on the air. And you were like, I couldn't find, believe it or not, that was the best photo I could find of Steve. And not because Steve doesn't look great, but because he's always moving when he's playing.
Yes.
So you get a lot of blurry photos. And speaking of moving, I do want to mention that today, because our setup is a little bit different, because Tony is tuned in from the hotel where the Bluegrass Festival is happening this weekend, and he's not at his home studio, so we've kind of, the rig is a little different than normal, so we couldn't have, normally we have our faces on the side of the screen while we're listening to music, and I wish that we had, because our heads were going regular listeners know we have the bobble heads, we're always doing air guitar and listening to the music, and on that last track we were all going like crazy.
And we weren't alone here. Our
backstage.
friend Becky Schlegel tuning in, wonderful past guest, said the last tune made her want to dance. And folks, if you're out there, do it, dance. That's what this is all about.
And Natalie, when you were talking at the top of the show about growing up and with a lot of the Ukrainian traditions, that you said that all the arts were just kind of a part of your childhood, like dance and visual art. And I was noticing that painting behind you, and I have to ask you about it. Is this something that you did, or?
No, I wish. No, this is a painting that's done by a Ukrainian artist. Actually, she's living in Manhattan. She is a longtime friend of my family's. Her name is Nina Klimovska. Actually, I'll just do this.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And this is one of her
gorgeous.
early pieces from the late 60s or early 70s when she was really into irises. So she, at that time, she was doing these large scale paintings. And there's another couple of paintings at my mom's house where like it's a diptych. So like, you have to put the two panels together to get the full expression. It's incredible. Her work is beautiful.
That's
So
gorgeous.
Nina
That's
Klimovska. Yeah.
When we'll try and get that link so we can share it in our show notes later.
Sure.
To that work. And this is a good time to mention to folks who are tuned in today that the music that we are enjoying on the show, we're going to get to another track right away here because we want to get through as many as we can. But the album Amerikana and all of Natalie's recordings, she's donating all the proceeds to Ukraine humanitarian efforts. So I don't know if you want to say anything more about that, Natalie, about where that's going. But
Yeah, I appreciate that. So a lot of people have been asking me just like outpouring of support to me, to the Ukrainian community, and it's been really lovely. And a lot of people have been asking, how can we help? What can we do? So there are several links that we'll share at some point, but that also exist on a blog post that I recently put up. There are a lot of different aid organizations. There are several that are specifically working toward getting funds as quickly as possible to Ukrainians in Ukraine and refugees, helping the refugees that are leaving as a result of the invasion. And the organizations range from, humanitarian aid, refugee aid, medical aid to military aid. I know that right now there's a call for, non-lethal military equipment like helmets and things like that. So, a few of the organizations that I've called out have been there's a Ukrainian Humanitarian Relief Committee that's been a partnership between the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress and the Canada-Ukraine Foundation. There's an organization called Project Hope, which does a lot of refugee aid. The National Bank of Ukraine recently set up a special account to raise funds for Ukraine's armed forces. There is also a Help Ukraine Center with like a ton of different links that I can also provide. And then also in the Twin Cities area, the Ukrainian-American Community Center has a donation page that is on their site that you can either PayPal your donations or find other ways to donate or get money directly to individuals in Ukraine. Like if you have family there, like we do. There are ways to get money to them directly. So,
Yeah, and
my money's going there.
we should add, not only is she donating this money from the proceeds from these albums, but I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but Bandcamp, the service that is hosting her music, is offering today only, Friday, March 4th, 100% of the proceeds go directly to Natalie and then thus directly to these causes. So they have this great feature on their site where they allow you to pay what you want. So I put a link in the comments. You should head on over to Bandcamp. The best way probably is to get yourself a copy of this album and maybe throw a little extra in that tip jar, so to speak, that is gonna be spread around to the various relief efforts that Natalie is supporting.
Yep.
And also, I'm guessing that you still have physical. Do you still have physical copies of this album too? So CDs as well
I
as
do.
digital?
I have a ton. Yes.
Did you hear that in her voice, folks? She's like, "Get them out of my house."
Help me.
She's actually barricaded in her house. So you want to help her, relieve her of those, another kind of relief effort. Get those CDs out of there. We all know, Natalie, you're in good company. Tony and I have a few boxes in our houses. So folks should definitely pick it up, because I will say also, if you're listening on YouTube, and you might be listening at earbuds or, on your phone, and you want to hear the high res versions of these songs, because again, as Natalie mentioned, there's like master players on this record, and you're going to hear it when you hear these tracks. So without further ado, though, I want to jump into the music, because we have several more tracks we want to get to before the end of today's show. So this next track that we are going to listen to is, I think, Cherry Tree is the translation, but
Indeed. Yep.
but maybe you could pronounce it and say where this tune comes from.
Yeah, this is Čerešeň, Čerešeň, and this one comes from Slovakia. It has a very different character from the one that we previously heard. traditionally, the way that I've heard this song, like in Slovak tradition, is as a čardaš, which is a type of dance. It's almost, it's not really march-like, but there's a there's a pulse to it. There's a certain energy to it. And so when Steve and I got together and started, talking through, okay, well, how do we think outside the box with some of these songs that I'm used to hearing them a certain way. And this was one of those that I felt like I wanted to make it more gentle, but I didn't know how to do that. So Steve actually just started playing it on his acoustic the first time that we got together, and it was like this beautiful, poignant song that fit with the lyrics really well, actually. So, little known fact, actually very well known fact, but a lot of Eastern European songs sound very different from what the translation actually is. So you can be hearing a party song, like what sounds like a party song, and it's like totally depressing. Or the opposite can happen too. It's like a really depressing kind of, sad melody, but it's like the most joyous lyrics.
Sounds like
funny.
bluegrass, right?
I was going to say, it makes sense. There is definitely a kinship between this Eastern European music and the Appalachian and bluegrass music, because the same thing is true. So there's maybe it's a human thing that we want to, if we're going to sing about something sad, we at least want to be able to move our feet to it, I guess.
Exactly.
That's right. Yep. All right. Well, let's do it. This is
right.
Cherry Tree. Natalie Nowytski here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Čerešeň, čerešeň, hej, zelená čerešeň. Čerešeň, čerešeň, hej, zelená čerešeň. Čiže ja budem, hej, ahoj, nevesta na ješeň, Bože môj. Čerešeň, hej, želená čerešeň, čiže ja budem, hej, ahoj, nevesta na ješeň, Bože môj, čiže ja budem, hej, ahoj, nevesta na ješeň, Bože môj.
Beautiful. That was Natalie
gorgeous.
Nowytski with Čerešeň.
Nice.
I
You
gave
go.
it a go.
Go for it, Ellen.
Well, it's going to get harder as the show goes on, so that might be the end of me attempting to do the pronunciation. But I love that track and the way it builds. It has this beautiful, just all the layers of the stringed instruments. I mean, first you hear the acoustic guitar, then the resophonic, and then bass, and then you hear a couple other stringed instruments. Yeah, I was wondering. I thought I heard some banjo, but I was curious what other instruments we were hearing on that track.
So banjo, yes, that was in there. Mandolin was also in there. That's Jim Parker. And actually one of my favorite things about this track is you can hear him breathing. You can hear him breathing through his solo. And it, like, to me, that just sort of adds so much humanity to it. It's really beautiful. And then Steve Call and Scott Keeper both played on this as well.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, you know, and I was thinking while we were listening to it too that I don't understand the language, the word language, but I understand the music language. And that's what's so special about kind of folk music from everywhere. Like, you can hear that and you kind of get it on some level.
Yeah,
And,
that's a great
really nice.
distinction.
Yeah. And again, this is from Natalie's 2013 album Amerikana, mixing Eastern European traditional music with kind of a bluegrass and Amerikana flavor to it. And if you have comments or questions about the songs or the instrumentation or anything like that, feel free to throw them in the comments. And again, if you're interested in buying this music, it's available on Bandcamp today. And today, 100% of the sales go directly to Ukrainian relief efforts because Natalie's going to be donating those proceeds. So this is a great chance to get some of this great music for yourself, get a CD copy, and also support people who are suffering right now, whether it's in Ukraine or as refugees. So this is a good opportunity to do that.
And for those who are listening later, you know, she might not get 100%, but Bandcamp does give quite a bit. So if you're listening to the rebroadcast
always a
of
good
this,
time to buy the music.
I'm talking to you. She still gets over 70%. They have a good cut there at Bandcamp. So
it's very true. It's very true. And I would love to talk a little bit about again some of these players. They all come from different musical backgrounds and a lot of different places. Like you mentioned, Jim Parker, he was playing mandolin on that track. He's played with me in the Mother Banjo Band and played in tons of bands. But you know, how did you find these people? I know he's played some Eastern European music before, so some people might have been more obvious than others.
I feel really lucky that I just keep getting connected to really awesome people by other awesome people. So Jim Parker, I met at Ethnic Dance Theater, and I saw Don LaCourse log on. Don is the artistic director of Ethnic Dance Theater, so I can thank him for that. Jim played in the orchestra for many years, and later he and I were bandmates in Ukrainian Village Band as well. I met Steve Call because of a Gabriella Suite, so I sang with her in Mila Vocal Ensemble, and both she and Steve participated in this project quite a bit. Scott, I also met because of Ethnic Dance Theater, come to think of it.
Oh,
and
this
now
your
I'm
now
married to
husband,
the guy.
right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ethnic Dance Theater.
Right. Seriously.
The power of the arts, people.
Bringing us all together. Right.
A lot of couples wind up together that meet in EDT. So if you're looking for someone special, go be a dancer or a musician, and you're probably going to be fine. Let's see who else. Okay, so Adam, I don't remember. Adam, how did I meet you?
Okay, Adam Kiesling, if you're out in the comments, tell us how you met.
I think everyone just knows Adam, just because he's such a
in the
wonderful
water.
person, and everybody. He is part of the Twin Cities fabric of the folk community here.
Jim may have introduced us. That probably makes the most sense to me.
Well, Jim also knows everybody, so that also makes sense. And then and Peter Strushko.
Peter Strushko, who is also from the Ukrainian community. I actually met him later in life. I met him, I think, in my late 20s, maybe. Of course, I'd always known about him, and he was always part of the community. But I didn't start working with him until like the early aughts. So yeah, when I was thinking about this project and bringing a Slavic feel as well as a bluegrass feel, like he was the automatic
Perfect.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, you get both of those traditions. You're deeply embedded in both those traditions. And it's funny because in the during one of the rehearsals or after one of the rehearsals, he asked me, he's like, why did you hire me? You should have like a bluegrass fiddler. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you really asking me this right now? You're like, no, I want you on this. And it's great because actually in one of the songs that's coming up, he adds a little bit of a Ukrainian melody into what he plays on the fiddle. And that's exactly what I was hoping for. Like, with everyone who was on this project, at least I hope this came across. I wanted people to feel like they could bring themselves into it, themselves as musicians, with the understanding that, like, my background in bluegrass is like super 101, and that's why I brought in people who really get, these various American roots traditions. Mm-hmm. So I think, everyone kind of brought a little bit of themselves to this project, which just made it so much richer.
And
Nice.
I do want to mention too that Peter Strushko, again, a beloved member of our Twin Cities and global music community, who passed away just over a year ago. We did a show paying tribute to one of his albums here on Back Catalog Listening Party, episode 52. And if you want to explore his music and hear from people who worked on that album with him, it's a really lovely tribute, and it's a great way to, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, speaking of which, go down the Peter Strushko rabbit hole. You'll get into all kinds of different roots music from all over the world. So if that's where you're interested in heading. I do want to, before we head into the next song, we did get a question from Chris who said, Natalie, I'm aware of the Orchestra Bezime project. Are you still a part of that, and or what kind of music is it?
Yes, I am still part of that. Thanks for that question, Christopher. OBI is still existing. We've just been not very active. About 1/3 of the band is immunocompromised, so we're not doing any indoor gigs. But come summer, last summer we did some performances. In the summer we intend to do some more, probably outdoors. So and we're also starting to talk about a new recording, which is many years in the making.
It's been a little while. I was trying to remember the last time I had you in like the KFAI studio to talk about an OBI recording, and it's been a few years.
It's been a
Cool.
while.
Well, I'll make sure that we get a link to that project in the show notes as well.
Yeah. And how would you describe OBI's music?
OBI, we talk about ourselves as being a Balkan party band. So a lot of the work that we do, a lot of the
Lots
music
of
that we do-
dancing.
Lots of dancing, exactly. Yeah, if you're not dancing to our
Hey,
music,
hey,
then we're
hey.
doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So pretty much focusing on the Balkan Peninsula, but sometimes, we'll float into other areas of the world too.
And I love, by the way, that I think sometimes there's this weird misconception that like that music from any music from other cultures, like it has to be heard in a theater or some kind of formal space. But again, this music wasn't made for that. It's made for, as you said, party music. So like you can see OBI sometimes like at the Schooner Tavern or like some bar where it's just like people crammed in, moving and having a good time. And that's what the music is meant for.
Exactly. I mean, that's how it came about, right? Like it's just, folk music comes about because you're bored, you're doing something and you need some music to keep you company. So like, this is truly music of the people. So the more of the people, the setting, the better, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we would love to get back into the music because we want to get to a few more tracks. And this next track, I think it's a combination of tunes, right?
It is, yeah. So it's a medley from Slovakia. It's actually, I should say it is from Slovakia, but the first song is in Rusin. So I mentioned that that ethnic group that kind of hangs out in the Carpathian Mountains. And then the second piece is kind of considered a Romani song even though it's in Slovak, it's considered Romani. So for those who are not familiar with the term Romani, that's what we formerly might have known as gypsy, that we just don't use that word anymore. So Romani or Roma. And both of these are just very flirtatious songs. And I mentioned, a moment ago that Peter Ostushko, when he played on this, he threw in some Ukrainianisms in his playing, which was really fun. And one of my favorite memories, actually, of him in the studio was, I don't remember after which song it was, but I only put him on the fast songs, and he seemed to notice that. And so he said, what are you doing to me? You're going to give me a heart attack or something. You're just like, you're doing terrible things to me right now. Why don't I get to play on anything slow? And I said, well, I want you on the barn burners, because, that's, you're a barn burner when you allow yourself to be. So
awesome. Well, let's give it a listen. This is Natalie Nowytski here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Бом, чорне очі мать мала, цingіlingi бом, 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 я ще на ню подала, цingіlingi бом, чорне очі мать мала, цingіlingi бом, 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 я ще на ню подала.
All right. That was Natalie Nowytski. And wow, Peter Shushko on that fiddle. And
Right.
wow, some crazy playing on that. And I love there's so many great comments during that tune. Joe had mentioned something about making Charlie Daniels feel jealous. Love that. And also Anna's comment. So this is Peter's daughter who said, other kids' parents pick their kids up from school blasting rock or pop music. My dad pulled up with this album and turned it all the way up. He was so proud to be a part of this project, Natalie. So
Thank
That's
you.
so
that's
cool.
quite a testament because Peter's played on lots of albums. And
Yeah.
so the fact that this was the one he used, not only because he loved the record, but maybe also to embarrass his daughter. I don't know. But I
I'm
love
totally
that.
going to try that actually next time I pick up my kids. I'll
Yeah, just
crank her up.
it up.
Thanks,
I love
Anna.
it.
That means
So
a lot. I
great.
had no idea. Thank you.
So wonderful, and lots of conversation about the head bopping. And again, if you tune into other episodes of the Back Catalog Listening Party, normally when Tony's at his home studio with all his bells and whistles, we're able to play the music while having our faces on the screen, so you get to see us. And if you could only see us, I got to see us backstage here, and I saw all of us were going like this, really crazy, and yeah, a lot of fun, so great. And if you are having fun listening to this record again, this is a great chance to buy it, either the physical copy or the digital copy. Natalie's donating all the proceeds, not just today, but throughout the month, to Ukrainian relief efforts. So this is a great chance to do that. And also, we should mention, Natalie, that you have other things going on. This album came out in 2013. You've done a lot of records since then, and you're always working on something new. But what do you have coming up that folks should know about?
Well, gosh. So I'm working on a long-term project, and then I have something that's coming up next week. So I'll do the short one next week first. I'm going to be performing for a live podcast at the Women's Center in Minneapolis for a live taping of Island of Discarded Women, which is a podcast that Sue Scott started. And some people might remember Sue Scott from Prairie Home Companion. She was one of the voice actors. So this is a podcast she's been doing for a few years, and so she reached out and asked if I would sing some Ukrainian music. And what we came up with is a combination of I'm going to be doing a traditional song and then a couple of composed songs, one of which I was mentioning before we jumped on the show. This is like the month of me returning to old projects. I'm going to be performing with Scott, actually, one of my compositions from a song cycle that I did in 2015 under the project titled Perekote Pole, which is a song cycle of new Ukrainian folk songs that I wrote to my great grandmother's poetry.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some really interesting, cool stuff that came out of that project. So one of those songs will be there, and then one of the other pieces that I'm going to be doing is for a project that I'm working on right now. I'm the composer for a play called The Last Babushka, which has been in the works for the last 3 years. The playwright, Amy Wheeler, is in the Seattle area, and we've been working together for a little while. And it's based, I should say, it's inspired by the documentary film, The Babushkas of Chernobyl. So these are actual stories of actual elder women that illegally came back into the exclusion zone and settled back into their homes, and have been living off of this radioactive land this entire time and thriving as it comes out. So one of the pieces I'll be performing next week at that is from that show in those 3 different characters' voices. So
Nice.
Very
yeah.
cool. And if folks want to keep tabs on all the stuff you're doing, they can go to your website, right? NatalieN.com.
Yep. As a friend pointed out, looks like Nat Alien.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed that. I love
You can't
it.
win. You can't win with
Can't win.
URLs. But that's
right.
easy to remember, folks. NatalieN.com. You got this.
Yep.
That's
And
right.
one of my other projects, my other more recent previous project, is also up on Bandcamp, called East of the Sun, which was a concept album. It's all stuff that I've composed, and you'll hear some definite Eastern European influences and other totally random influences in there too. So that's on Bandcamp too, and the proceeds also from sales of that album will also go toward Ukrainian aid.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Wow. So yeah, Natalie has her hands in a few projects, at all times, and we're so excited to get to have this chance to chat with you because I can remember the last time. I think we did something on Zoom sometime in the last year, but I feel like it's been a very long time since I've gotten to talk music with you, and
Yes.
this is a real treat, and certainly too long since I've heard you sing in real life. So hopefully we will be remedying that soon. But we have at least one more track we have time for to get to from this record, Amerikana. Again, this came out in 2013, and this last tune is well, the English translation is Water Flows.
Yeah, so this is Teče, voda, Teče, and I think of this as the song that started it all. I actually learned this when I was part of the ethnic dance theater. So I believe actually Don LaCourse probably introduced me to the song. When the group went to tour in the Czech Republic in 2001, we were invited for an international festival to perform American folk music and dance. And that's not what EDT is known for. I mean, EDT primarily does, folk traditions from around the world, and it's hit like I think 5 different continents worth of traditional dance and music. But we were asked to do the American stuff, and so one of the things that I love about Don is he wanted to really sneak in some traditional stuff from the area where we're going to be. So this festival was in Červený Kostelec, which is kind of in the eastern, I think it's southeastern, if I remember, part of the country, northeastern, southeastern, eastern part of Czech Republic. And so we had several Czech and mostly Czech pieces that were both music and dance. And Teče, voda, Teče wound up becoming sort of like the theme song in some ways of that tour. Like the Czech audience heard it once, freaked out because like all these Americans are now doing Czech music, and what the heck is going on? Like, what color is the sky right now? And as we were doing these parades for this festival, people would keep requesting it. So this song like just has a very long kind of history in my experience as a musician. Actually, there was one old gentleman who was from the town. He wound up making a mix for me of various versions of this song. So like that's just how much they really loved this song. So it absolutely had to go on this album. And I think this is also one of the ones that wound up being part of the Resophonic Guitar Festival that started the seed of the idea for this project. So this is one that Mila Vocal Ensemble and Steve Call and Gabriella Sweet and Leo Whitebird did together for that festival. And just since then, it's just sort of been like the Amerikana song and the Czech song that I'm known for singing because I've just sung it so much. It's really
one of
lovely.
Natalie's greatest hits, folks.
All right. Well, I think it's the
catalog
perfect.
listening
Yeah, it's the perfect way to cap off the episode and to kick off our weekend. This is Natalie Nowytski, Water Flows, on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
All right. Natalie Nowytski here on the back catalog listening party. And that tune, Water Flows, Natalie, I feel like my blood pressure dropped like 10 points just by listening to that. Like,
Good.
I
We
think
need
we all
that.
need that. Yeah, exactly. As
Yay for
Tony
art.
as Tony and I say every week, we really needed this week. But we really did. And Connie said thanks for a terrific show. And Chris, great show. Natalie, heartfelt positive thoughts your way. And yes, indeed, especially to your family that's in Ukraine and loved ones around the world. These are tough times. And so, again, one thing that you can do to help out is and help yourself at the same time is to buy some of Natalie's music, buy this record we've been revisiting today, and she'll be donating 100% of the proceeds to Ukrainian relief efforts around the world. So this is a great time to do that. Also, we got a comment from Joe about Connecticut, my homeland, and I know there's some other Connecticut folks tuned in today, asking about the Naugatuck River Valley and the Eastern European communities there. And there are a lot of Eastern European communities there. Unfortunately, I was not tapped into that much in terms of like the cultural music and dance scene. I don't know, Natalie, if you know anything about that, but I know we have some other Connecticut folks, so if they want to chime in, they should.
Yeah, I don't know specifically, but I mean there are pockets of us all over the place. So
Yeah.
you can't really throw a stone in any particular state, I think, without hitting an Eastern European community. So please don't throw stones, but I'm not
Yeah.
advocating for that. But we're around.
Exactly, exactly. And well, thank you so much for joining us today, Natalie. This has been such a treat to revisit this record, which I've been a fan of for a long time. And I'm like, why haven't I dusted this off again more recently? So yeah, we'll be doing that. And it's so great to hear these stories about the songs and about kind of giving them new life, which I think is what folk music is all about, right? It's about bringing your own mark to this great music and passing it along to new generations. So,
Totally. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you to all of you who tuned in and all the really lovely comments. Really appreciate it.
I wanted to join in the chorus and say thank you, but I got overrun here by the Mark Kreitzer band. Say hello.
hi, Mark. Oh, one of our past guests.
It got really noisy in here, and I didn't want to take away from the lovely music, but I did want to say thank you before I mute, and thanks to everybody out there as well.
That's right.
And I'll let Ellen do the rest of the talking here.
Tony's joining us from the site of the Minnesota Winter Bluegrass Weekend, where I will be headed a little bit later. And some of our past guests will be playing there as well, like the Rowe Family Singers. So if folks in the Twin Cities are looking for something to do, maybe you'll see me and Tony hanging around that hotel. But for now, I would just want to thank all of you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, like it on Facebook, on YouTube. And you can like us on Facebook, Back Catalog Listening Party, but like it on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel so you know about the upcoming shows we have. We do this every Friday at 4 p.m. Central. We invite, not with Natalie every week, but we invite different guest artists on to revisit old records. And next week we have Tim O'Brien, speaking of cross-cultural musicians,
Yeah.
one of the best. And he's going to be talking about his album, The Crossing, which is about another transatlantic collaboration between Celtic and Appalachian musicians. So we're going to be talking about that next.
Episode 100, I might add.
100.
Episode 100 with the great Tim O'Brien. So, yeah.
It's going to be good. And if you are one of our Patreon supporters, then you can join us for a special 100th episode celebration. We're going to be doing afterwards on Zoom. And speaking of which, we want to thank the folks who are support us every month by being a Patreon supporter. Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead Pick and Parlor, yes, Severin, in Germany, Lynn, Craig, Jake, Mary, and many tracks. So we have a whole bunch of folks and some new ones that came on this week. So thanks to them for supporting this show, because this is how we get through every week. No matter what is happening in the world, we know that music and community will be here every Friday, and we are really grateful for that. I don't know how we would have gotten through these last couple of years without it. So
We wouldn't have. So, yes, I second that. Thank you.
yeah, art is vital. And Natalie, thank you so much for your art and sharing your time with us today, even while being sick. So get better soon. And
you.
hopefully we'll see you in in real life soon.
Yes, I look forward to that. Thank you.
Well, have a great weekend, everyone, and stay safe out there. And what's the cheers again?
Oh,
Maybe you have to say it.
Let's do it.
Будьмо,
Hey!
будьмо,
Hey!
будьмо.
Hey!
Hey!
There you go.
All right.
All
Happy
right.
Friday, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. See you